All right. Good morning, coaches. My name is KJ Smith, and I coach with Basket Unifacisa as an assistant in the Brazilian First Division, known as the MBB. And I wanted to share with you today some of my favorite post actions from the Americas. So this will include not just teams from Brazil, but it'll include teams from the Argentinian leagues, Uruguay, as well as Mexico. All right. So, in my opinion, I think with post actions, it kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit when you don't have a scorer who can post very well. But I think you can definitely take advantage of the ability to use the post as a hub for passing angles, for creating some difficult closeout situations, and maybe attack in a little bit of a different way. So we'll look into some of that. I will be putting this presentation on YouTube for anyone to review later, as well as giving out a PDF of all of these set plays to anyone who contacts me via Twitter at KJ the Scout or via email at kjthescout@outlook.com. So without further ado, let's get started. What's first here is what we call the triple post here in Brazil. And what I really like about this action is normally in this situation here, normally this guy would just go off of a pin down. Maybe there's a split cut here, and you kind of just play this one-on-one game. The beauty of the triple post is it keeps, as you'll see later, everybody involved in the action. And the first option we always look for is this back door against a deny or top lock. Now the second option, if you don't have the back door, is to look for the curl to the rim. Now, as you'll see later on in the video, it's very important that this player does not go for the pin down unless he is completely free. For right now, put lots of pressure on the rim, right? Attack with the back door, attack with the curl. The ball will find you if you keep watching. Now, normally in this situation, if this guy were to help more on the post up, this defender would start to X up a little bit higher. So this defender would start to run and chase around the top. If this defender is late, he would just X out here. So curling this to the rim is a good way to counter teams that like to switch off of the ball like this. The next progression out of this concept is to look for a pin down on the back side. And this is why the pressure on the rim is so important. Because once this ball is entered inside, as soon as this cut happens, curl or back door, and this defender steps in, now it gives us more space and a really long closeout of recovery for this pin down. Now, following any pin down, we always look to re-screen into a pick and roll. And this first option is what we call roll and replace, where sometimes you'll get this situation where the defender's just completely behind or side to side, and there's not really much of an advantage. He goes under. So in this situation, after any pin down, we screen again. Okay. Now, as this screen happens, we attack a soft hedge, which is a very popular defensive coverage. We're trying to read this defender here. So once this ball handler gets two on him, he's done his job. His job is now to get the ball to the backside. And now you see on this reversal, it's 2 against 1. He can take the shot. He could also reverse here. You can also run this same concept from a baseline inbounds play. Now, right here, if the ball were to go into the post, we would just continue into backdoor, curl, and the actions you've seen already. But if you don't, you continue off of the stagger and we rescreen like we discussed into what we call a spread ace pick and roll. Now, the reason it's called spread ace is literally just a fancy way of saying that you're attacking the side with one offensive player in the corner. So it's a really good way to create space, create a double gap, which is what we want. Right? What we want in this pick and roll is a double gap where this player is spotting up to the corner. If this guy stands here on the wing, there's no space. He's not able to drive. It's harder for him to roll. We want to spread this defense out as much as possible. Now, the reason it's spread ace is the four-man decides the spacing here, depending on how you like to use pick and roll. After that four sets that first screen, four can, as you saw in the previous clip, lift up behind and replace. Four can stay out to the corner as well. Now here's that same action again, and now you're looking for what we call a spread deuce, which is the same thing as basically attacking the two side. So again, as soon as we come off the stagger, we look to rescreen. You see the four-man shaping up to this strong side corner, pushing this shooter up to the wing. And now against this hard hedge, we only have to read this defender. So from the ball handler's perspective, once he gets two on the ball, he just has to read. If this defender steps in, toss to the shooter. If this defender stays out, we can toss to the roll. In this case, they leave the best shooter on the team wide open. You can also run this situation from a sideline inbounds. And same thing, once this ball is entered into the four, it can also be your five, we go into all of our same options. So if this backdoor wasn't available, you'd have a pin down here on the backside for number five. And you can also run the same action out of horns. So once this dribble happens, normally this four would cut down, and four would actually set a little brush screen for this guard here to run around in an L shape. And then he would keep running until the post gets the ball, where he would read for the back door. Now this play is from Capitanes in Mexico. And I think it's a really, really good way to get some quick five-man movement. You notice how fast everyone moves through this action. So after this reversal, what makes this play dangerous is how it swings the ball from side to side, but with a purpose. So you initiate getting the entire defense loaded over here. On this reversal, you get three players on one side of the floor. Before the ball's reversed, there's already a cross screen happening for the post with the defender standing where he's supposed to be, right? He should be in this position given where the ball is. So now by the time that reversal happens, it's too late for him to get in prepare for that cross screen, and you have a nice slip to the rim. From San Lorenzo in Argentina, this is a quick shuffle set, which is very common amongst other leagues as well. And the nuance in this set is what's interesting, because you always want to run actions looking to score. If you have a 4 or 5 that can shoot off of this, as soon as they catch, easy 3, don't have to do anything else. Right? You'll see that same thing again here on this reversal. If teams once in a while aren't paying attention, you can reject this screen and pin down with the 4 and the 5, and sometimes you'll catch them slipping for an easy 3 or roll to the rim. Now, once the ball's inside here, and you've seen this if you watched any recent NBA finals, especially with the Golden State Warriors, of just a basic split cut with 2 players spaced on the backside. All he has to read is these 2 defenders here, right? In this case, if this defender were to step out more and this screen were a little higher, you would have room for this guy to slip to the rim while he's preparing to throw the pass. Now here, this is a concept that I just call a low pick and roll. And though it's not technically a post up, given on where he catches it, it is a set that you can catch a little bit lower in the logo, short corner area. It's really effective, especially if you have a guard that's not a great shooter, though this player here is a very good shooter. And what you're looking for is the lower you set this screen below the foul line, the bigger chance that you create for that player on defense to chase over, right? A lot of times you'll see guards that can't shoot, and teams will just go under, and just make them shoot. But the lower that screen goes, at some point, this defender has to chase over. And when he chases over, we're able to attack downhill with an advantage. Another set from the Argentinian league. Now, what's interesting about this one is the nuance. I want you to pay attention to this shooter here. Okay, so he's dribbled out as we dribbled out the wing. And I just want you to watch the amount of times that this defender has to chase him through. So once the ball is in, right now, he's not paying attention to this action, given how he's chasing this guy. This back screen gives us misdirection, and what we're really looking for is this second split action here for the shot. For teams that run really simple 4-out motion, this is a really good one from Instituto. Now, normally in teams that run 4-out, 1-in, what you'll see them do a lot of is they'll push the ball, they'll get into their 4-out spacing, this guard will pass ahead, he'll cut through. In this case, you can do the same action even when you dribble out. What you're looking for in this pass entry is as this lead guard is cutting directly through the rim or even cutting around toward the baseline, you're going to set a pin down for this guard with this big here. Now, depending on how this guy guards it, there's only two options. Okay? If he's behind, we can come off this pin down for the shot. If the defender starts to cheat, as you'll see here, we have the back door. From Uruguay, we have a quick drag screen the screener action. And again, another really fast way to get this happening. But the biggest key here is the timing of these two screening actions. Okay? This ball screen has to happen at the exact same time that this cross screen is being set. Okay? Ideally, you would want this big to wait a little bit more, and you would want this cross screen to happen closer to this block. So that way we get more of a 2-foot paint catch as opposed to catching outside of the paint. Okay? And on this side here, again, you still have a pin down, and you could also go into triple post as we discussed earlier in the video. This player could backdoor or curl, and you can pin down for this shooter with this guy here. So this next set is another quick screen the screener action. Now, the biggest thing with sets like this is you have to be really paying attention to the angle of this screen, okay? We don't want to set the angle here. We want to set it actually lower, right? So we want to get this right foot lower behind this big where it's more difficult for him to fight through because now it's too easy for him to step around a player that's half of his size, right? So when you set these cross screens, it's very important that you get under this defender, right? Get his hip, get his back if you can, that's great. And you create more of an advantage for your 5 to catch directly in the paint area. Diamond sets are something that are really popular here as well as in the EuroLeague, and this case is no exception. And again, similar to the triple post, only this time when the ball's entered into the post, you're going to have this big lift up, trying to set a back screen here to the rim. Now, if that back screen isn't there, then we just flow into another pick and roll right after the pin down. And again, like we talked about before, once your guard has gotten 2 players to defend him, they've done their job. There's too often times where this guard is attacking 2 guys trying to create something out of nothing. This is a situation where all you have to do is lift this guy a little bit, and he's open for the shot. Now here's an interesting duck-in seal play. I think it's a really good way to, again, misdirect the team, similar to the Mexican play from earlier. So this entire play is designed to make you think that the play is going to a shooter, when in reality it's going into the post. So right now, when you see this action, you immediately think that this shooter is running off of 2 screens to the corner or to the extended wing area here for the shot. But with the ball here and this defender stepping in, we immediately reverse it, and this player can look to seal not here outside of the paint, but really step into this defender and bury him completely under the rim. If that happens, all of the help is over here, and you have a very quick score. But if you're not able to catch it in the paint, we continue into another version of the split game, right? In this case, you can set a back screen for this guy, or sometimes you can use this guy to set a screen for him to go to the wing. Okay, so in this situation with this flare, he doesn't have sight of the ball, and he has to go help, which means this shooter can step out free for the shot. Now, if you have a guard that can post up, the slice action is a very simple and popular one. Right? And the benefit of this here is after this back screen, it's a simple post up and stagger on the weak side. This is Alex Garcia, formerly of the San Antonio Spurs. If you've got a point guard that can post up, you'll like this one as well. And in particular, this play does work a little bit better when your 4 or 5s can shoot, as this team does. So it starts out in a horn set. We set a cross screen for our point guard with our 4, right? Our shooting 4-man. Now again, this team does a good job of taking away the switch. And you notice all 5 guys have to converge. They're willing to leave the shooters on the perimeter. The last set that we're going to look at is what I call 24 shuffle. And it's a variation of the simple shuffle action that you see with other horns plays. The difference here is who's setting the screen, right? Obviously, as the number implies, we're involving the 2 and the 4. So 3 will set this screen for 5 to go post up, and then 3 is going to pop out. Now, normally in this situation, there would just be a pin down here for this guy, and the play would stop. Instead, they send their 2 to go screen their 4. Now, with this team specifically, both of them are good shooters. And even though this guy sniffs it out, it just takes one step by this defender to help on the back screen for us to have a slip to the rim. So that is the end of my presentation in regards to post actions from the Americas. Again, if you want the video for this as well as the PDF, you can contact me via Twitter at KJ the Scout. Feel free to DM me as well as my email, kjthescout@outlook.com. And I'd be more than happy to talk hoops, exchange information, learn the game from you guys. So I'll talk to you later.